So long, and thanks for all the fish.
This is I Don't Even Own a Television, a podcast about bad books and moving on.
And so, by degrees, very gradually, I made up my mind to take the life of the old man and thus rid myself of the eye forever.
There are books that are good, there are books that are bad. There are books so fucking awful you wish you never had read them at all. Cause a novel can ruin your life. Hey buddy, I don't even own a television.
Yo, there are books that are busted and books so sick. There are books that can swing from my nuts and dick. Especially Tarzan, that's a piece of shit. Yo, hey buddy, I don't even own a television. Chop 'em up, chop 'em up, chop 'em up, read it. Chop 'em up, chop 'em up, chop 'em up, read. Chop 'em up, chop 'em up, chop 'em up, read it. Chop 'em up, chop 'em up, chop 'em up, read.
All right, welcome. It's I Don't Even Own a Television. I guess you're probably already aware of this by what I assume will be a weepy episode title, but it's been a long run. I think we've been kind of swaying in the breeze for a little while, and it feels good to kind of get some closure and go out in a good way. So just heads up, we're calling it quits. We're packing up the van and moving on. But we wanted to do a little chat beforehand, just so everybody knows we don't hate each other, and there's nothing dramatic. Neither of us have had a milkshake duck moment or anything like that. We're just in a situation. I'm sure we'll talk about it. But as Collision had the wonderful idea, because I was just like, hey, let's just do an email. And Collision had the really good idea of like, why don't we do an episode? Let's do a last episode. So that's what this is. And pardon me in advance. I'm feeling a little emotional. I'm going to try my best to keep my composure throughout this process.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm J.W. Friedman. That's my name.
And I'm Chris, already cried in the pre-call Collision. I'm not going to apologize for getting emo if I do. I may need to take a second here and there.
That's fine.
But I'm told it's okay to cry. The highest authorities in the land have assured me that it's all right to cry because crying lets the sad out. That's
true. Yeah. It's good. I mean, most of my formative, early 20s and adolescence were defined by listening to, young white guys from the suburbs cry on stage. So, I can't abandon the emo roots that easily.
No, and God damn it, finally we get to be those young emo guys. And if you find any part of that statement inaccurate, let me tell you just one last time, do not add us.
Yes, exactly.
I actually had not really put it together until I looked at it just a couple minutes before the recording. But this is maybe not a surprise to too many people. It's probably more of a surprise to me and maybe to you, Jay, than to a lot of listeners. Like it turns out we put out 3 episodes a year for 2022 and 2021.
Yeah.
Maybe not the hugest shocker, but I do want to say, this is the last episode. I do really appreciate you were the one who reached out and said like, shit, obviously this has not been something that we've been able to prioritize. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's just time to pull the Band-Aid, and I think you're right, and I just want to say thank you for that, in addition to thank you for everything else, because I know I have a hard time sometimes pulling the plug, but I've nothing but good times, and nothing but appreciation for the whole thing.
Yeah, and I mean, I want to thank you too. Obviously, it's been a wonderful project. It's been a really cool journey to be on. I realize, like, looking back, the show is like 8 years old now. That's probably the longest I've stuck with a thing in my life. So, that's something. And it's like you said, things have been winding down a lot. I don't think anyone's going to be particularly shocked, but I know like my life in the past 8 years has changed a lot of ways, and it is what it is. And looking at myself and kind of what I'm prioritizing in my life now, I don't necessarily have room for podcasting at the moment, and I think it's more fair to the folks who have been so supportive. That's you guys, and great throughout this whole journey to have some closure like we have. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's good to be open and honest and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, I had sort of been thinking of this sort of like an episode. I definitely don't have, as usual, a plot in 60, for the show, much less, do I have a plot in 60 for like, the end. But, I would just say like, look, the pandemic changed a lot of things, maybe especially my ability to maintain routines. And, not that the ability for me personally to read a book and think of things to say about it was ever a particularly easy routine to maintain. And yeah, neither of our lives have gotten less busy since 2015. And so I just did want to be really clear that like, there's I have some sad feelings today. I don't have any bad feelings. I don't have any beef. It's just, I think about like, our conversation after the last time we recorded, you were like, I've got this great idea for a book. And I was like, fantastic. And it's, 6 months later and I have not read the book. And, I just think that kind of shows me where I'm at in terms of the sustainability of the show as a side hustle, for me.
I'm completely with you there. I think, just all, since we're being all open and honest here and all cards on the table, I think, I've mentioned briefly before, I had some struggles with addiction. I got clean and sober a couple years ago. Since then, I think my priorities in life have shifted pretty drastically. And, I had to really take a look at the person that I wanted to be and the things that I wanted to focus in my life. And, while this is like super fun, I think that there are things to me that are maybe a little more vital in my day-to-day survival that I need to put my energy into. And that's kind of where I've been coming from here as well. Yeah. This is a really, really fun project. It's been an honor and a pleasure to do it week after week for so long. But, what I do with my free time now is different than what I did with my free time before this went down, kind of as a matter of necessity. And so as a result, I want to take care of myself and look after myself. And I know that, putting the work into doing something like this, it's a lot. And I have a lot of other things I need to focus my efforts on. So that's kind of my motivation here as well. So yeah, that's that.
But yeah, not just need to, but like can and get to. And to me, everything you just said is a purely positive set of things.
Yes. I mean, it's not stuff I have to do; it's stuff I get to do, and talk about this all the time in various 12-step programs, but like showing up for myself and the people I care about means I have to be selective about what I put my energy into. And at this phase in my life, I have the opportunity to continue to work on enriching the lives of others in a different way. And so maybe it's not entertaining anymore. It's just doing something different, and that's where I'm coming.
For sure. And I don't think that could be better. I don't think that could make more sense. Geez, I'm realizing how hard this is when there's no bad jokes.
Right.
Jay, will you permit me one final sort of digression?
Yes, certainly.
Okay.
That's the best part.
Some have said. So I think I've probably mentioned this on the show before. An inordinate amount of my little brain is taken up with song lyrics. And unfortunately, it's not just sort of like, oh, I remember some trivia. It's stuff that's really gotten in there and made me think like, yeah, this is right. This is how to think. This is how to, live, whatever. And of the ones that have taken that status, a really unfortunate percentage of those are Butthole Surfers lyrics. And one of those lyrics is, "It's a funny thing about regret, son. It's better to regret things you have done than things you haven't done." And, that's always really stuck with me. And, like, obviously, getting ready to record, I've been thinking about that. And, like, I can safely say I basically only regret stuff that we didn't get to do. And I mean that in a very positive way.
Yeah.
And, so I was sort of thinking there's really, I think, two big ones for me. And I'd be interested to hear what yours might be as well. One, like, I feel dumb. My partner Noodles had a great idea for an episode, and I never got that together, and I never got her on the show. I just sort of feel dumb about that. That would have been in retrospect, a relatively easy thing to put together. But but I got scared about Michael Welbeck, and just never got it together to do it. So, sorry, Noodles. Sorry, everybody else, that you never got to hear that. And then the second one is, like, honestly, I just wish we'd gotten to do a couple more live shows. I think those were fun. I think we were good at them. I think right as the pandemic was looming, you had a great set of ideas about, like, hey, I think we could actually go on tour, and I figured out a way to do it,
Yeah. I think that's, I mean, as far as things that I wish we would have had a chance to do, it was, I think we had a pretty good plan for a road show we could have taken around to, small dismal caves around the country and entertained dozens of people. But
literally dozens.
But then the bottom fell out of society for a while, and, que sera, sera. But that's definitely one of mine for sure. Yeah. And I think... my other one just kind of falls into that, is I think, one of my favorite parts of doing the show was getting the opportunity to, meet our listeners and hang out with people and just meet the various weirdos who actually like to listen to what we did. And, it would have been cool to have more of a chance to do that. But, it is what it is. I no longer live in San Francisco, but if anyone's in suburban Sonoma County and wants to grab a non-alcoholic beverage... we're around, or I'm around. So
I mean, I'm still in Oakland, and I would not say that my choice in reading material has gotten better exactly.
Actually, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I realized, I was like, why is this feeling so more real to me? And it's because the book, I think one of the things, at least, is the book that I've been reading for pleasure was it's the new Stuart Turton book, which is the guy who wrote 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, which I had recommended pretty heartily on the show. And it just so happened that fate dropped this in my lap. And by fate, I mean the Sonoma County Public Library system, which rules. But right as we were talking about doing this, I started reading this book, and I don't know, it's something that I think I kind of associate this author with our show, because one of my favorite parts of the show, I think, especially as time went on, wasn't necessarily so much clowning on the bad stuff as much as it was the end of the episodes where we got to talk about things we were really enthusiastic about. And 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle was one of those books that I just totally geeked out over. So.
I mean, and I think, this was often misunderstood sometimes by people who wrote books that we did on the show. But I think, for me, the funnest episodes and the funnest parts were not the ones where, holy shit, this is awful. But were the ones where, holy shit, this is insane and a lot of fun. Yeah. I mean, they can't all be crabs, they can't all be rock memoirs of people telling stories that they think are going to impress you. More's the pity, maybe. But yeah, those were the high points. The recommendations were the high points, and like the highest of the high, the K2s and the Everests were when, like, if you've listened to this and this sounds like something that you might want to read, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
Anytime we got to do that, that was always like an absolute delight.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I kind of, I almost want to do a segment of if this was a song, just because there's so many good emo songs out there, and this is an emo moment.
Yeah, and I mean, get to hear these jingles one more time. Definitely some of my proudest life's work was recording some of these jingles. So, and by the way, while my priorities in life have changed, I would still love to do songs for your podcast listeners. So, but yeah, here's If This Were Song jingle.
The subject sounds of words, but not a melody and no rhythm at all. It's playing out with me, so we read all along. But it's probably wrong. It got us think about what if this were a song? What would it sound like?
I'm gonna, since this is the last episode and we're really going all out here, I'm just gonna admit it to the people who haven't figured this out. That song was just totally my attempt to do "Trusty Chords" by Hot Water Music. So. And turn it into like a 30-second little pop song. So, yeah, that's what that was all about.
Just a little Easter egg, for the completists, for the Gunters out there.
The Gunters. Oh, God.
Sorry. I had to do it to him.
Yeah.
Not to be the boring dork I am, but I got to go with "No Regrets" by Dramarama.
That's good.
Sub replacements. Indie flavored classic rock will probably never not be my jam, and that was a band that meant a ton to me, going all the way back to high school, which is when I heard that song. And if there's anything that a high school student should be exposed to, it's like a weirdo from New Jersey who's just moved to LA and written a bunch of songs about what he imagines housewives think about in the late 80s, early 90s. So No Regrets by Dramarama.
That's a good song. I think the only Dramarama song that comes to mind for me immediately is "Work for Food," which was on that Not Great Comeback album they did. So yeah, "No Regrets" is better.
Anything is probably the one that most people think of.
Yeah.
Work for Food. I will go to the mats for it. That song owns.
It's the only good song on that record, but it is a really good song.
I wish I could argue with you, but I can't.
I'm just going to be cliche, and I'm just going to say, for me, it's the Minutemen, Our Band Could Be Your Life. Not necessarily because we're as inspirational as any of the things that went on in that song, but just because, to me, that's always been one of the things that really influenced me, that if I like something, I could get in there and do it myself. And I feel like, one thing that has really defined this show, for me at least from the beginning, is that, we did all of this, the two of us. We weren't working with a network. We weren't doing all that kind of stuff, and podcasting's big business now. And I think for me, pardon me, there's a lot of that kind of like indie rock, punk rock spirit in my approach to this stuff and our approach to this stuff, I think. And so I think that that's a pretty good capper for it. It's the old Minutemen classic about jumping in the van and just being normal dudes doing a thing.
That's really funny to me, because I was thinking about recommendations, and my recommendation that I had written down, and we haven't talked about this, just for the record, but the recommendation I had written down was something that Mike Watt, of the Minutemen and of my kind of all-time favorite musical and ethical hero, something he likes to yell at the end of his shows to this day is, "Start your own fucking band."
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
That makes that makes sense to me. It obviously has always made sense to you. And, if you're listening to this, I hope it makes sense to you as well. And the only thing, jumping back, that I would disagree with is, you started this.
Yeah.
I jumped on, and after I was, after I was here, like you said, we did it all ourselves, but I don't want to take away any credit for you for the idea, getting it off the ground, making it a big success, long before you knew who I was or could pick me out of a police lineup. So,
well, thank you. I thought you were going to say that you didn't want to have any of the blame for the idea, so that was far more flattering than what I expected to hear.
Oh, heck no! And jumping back 2 topics, I just hope that you'll be available to do a jingle for my new podcast. I own several televisions, actually.
Yeah. It's just going to be reviews of various Star Wars franchise properties,
it's going to be nothing. You're so close, but as one of America's 8 subscribers to Paramount Plus, it will mostly be Star Trek properties.
Yeah.
And
Beavis and Butthead do the universe.
Yeah, exactly. Side note, I feel bad because I'm always bagging on Paramount Plus, which I think I have earned as a cultural critic of mid repute, and as, again, one of their 8 subscribers. But I was thinking the other night, man, maybe I should lay off them. Certainly it's not just bullshit programs for old white dudes. Maybe I should be more fair. And I'm flipping through and I'm I haven't checked out the Movie Hub on Paramount Plus for a second. I clicked on it and the subcategories in the Movie Hub in 2023 include Westerns.
Yeah.
And at that point I thought, you know what? Maybe it's okay if I back on Paramount Plus a little bit.
You can't watch Yellowstone, but you can watch the spin-off.
Oh, yeah. Yellowstone 911. Yellowstone just from a cop perspective.
I believe it's old-timey Yellowstone. With extra rugged beef jerky flavor.
Ooh. Actually, his name is Tom Selleck. You can use your private nickname for him if you like.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think that's our recommendation. Technically, we sort of butchered a plot in 60. Kind of did 2 highs and 2 lows. Sort of did the song. Sort of did the Rex. That sounds like an episode to me. I don't know. What have we not talked about that we should have talked about, Jay?
Little bit of housekeeping, okay? So I'm going to loop you in on this. Make sure to ping me later if you need anything. We'll be talking about our takeaways and our action items, and they are essentially. So while we are not going to be continuing to release new episodes, the old catalog will continue to be available until it becomes absolutely not feasible, which hopefully will not be anytime soon. So you will still be able to hear all of the content on the mainstream media. The lying internet trolls cannot stop us, folks.
This is all a stealth announcement. We didn't manage to get looped into any of the major podcast networks, but we're now a wholly owned subsidiary of 60 Minutes. So we're going to be the most mainstream thing that nobody pays attention to.
Yeah. No. So yeah, that's a thing. The other thing is Patreon, which obviously would be very awful of us to keep running if we're not doing a show anymore. So we're going to be turning off subscriptions on Patreon at the end of April. What that means, because Patreon wants to make money from you, The minute we flip that switch, you will no longer have access to any donation content. So if you want to download any of the, like, however many bonus episodes are there were a lot. If you want to keep them, you want to download those before whatever the last day in April is, the 31st. That sounds right.
I believe April is a 30-day month.
Hang on. 30 days has September, April. Yep, you're right. Okay. So, yeah. So as of April the 30th, that stuff is not going to be available. We're going to see what we can do to just get those up on the main feed as well. So if you still are subscribing to this podcast and you experience a massive spike in your data use on your phone, oops, sorry. But yeah, we're probably going to be putting like 70 plus bonus episodes on the main feed as well once that does go down. But we just wanted to let you know, I think we're going to be messaging most of this via, Patreon message and an email and all that kind of stuff in the future. But we didn't want to do that until we had the opportunity to, put this episode out there because, as Collision pointed out, in the world as it is today, I think when something shuts down without a word, people assume the worst. So
yeah,
it's probably good for everyone to know we're not, we're not beefing. We don't have any serious controversy lurking in the shadows. We're just moving on. So wanted to get this out for all of you before that stuff started just disappearing from the internet.
And it's tough. Like, I know that both of us have loved 10 million bands that like probably were together for 18 total months and made stuff that like, moved us decades later, you know? And it's not like all of them recorded a quick 7-inch at the end that was like...
Well, to be fair, if we were following in that pattern, in about 10 years when we were way too old for anyone to care about it anymore, we'd get together again and do a far worse version of the same show for our aging fan base. So don't rule that out yet, folks. We might be coming back to totally savage some AARP brochures shortly. You never know.
Let me be extremely clear about this now and forever. I'm not saying no.
Yeah.
If let's just imagine some TV network wants to do a low-cost show where people talk about books and license, Jay's IP. I am perfectly happy to be an executive producer on that show. I understand the many good reasons. I am not going to be on-camera talent. Basically, what I'm saying is, if you want to back a dump truck of money up to my house, please do so.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not opposed to any of that either. I'm sure I can help you find someone young and attractive to, play my part on the air. It'll be great.
It's going to be a TV version. I think you would be, I don't know, Gia Tolentino. They can, I've been listening to a lot of Unclear and Present Danger. Jamel Bowie is a great podcaster. Go ahead and put him on TV. And again, Paramount Plus, if you're looking to do some additional streaming content, but about books, I think it's clear that we've got ideas and a driveway that you can back a dump truck money up into.
I mean, I don't have a driveway anymore, unfortunately. I now live in an apartment complex, but I have a sidewalk that leads right up to my front door. You could bring it in a wheelbarrow. Or
there's that. There's also, of course, your helicopter pad. We could just,
that's true. Yes,
drop it down that way. So
my undisclosed locations. That sounds filthy.
So again, yes, no beef. Yes, dump trucks of money, and in 10 years when all the listeners of this are like, where did that show go? And gosh, I sure would like to spend $85 for 90 minutes of entertainment in some sort of live venue, you know. Look for us by the air.
Yeah. It'll, I'm sure. Who knows what'll happen in the future? Within 10 years, live shows might not even exist. It'll just be on Zoom, because that's the dystopia we live in now. So.
Oh, man. He had to say it.
Yeah. So I think before we go, though, I do just want to, I want a Hardy Boys. Yes, I do. But I also want to heartily thank, everyone who supported us and made this possible. I think that we had one of the coolest listener bases in podcasting. It was really cool to see and hear from all of you. I still think frequently about the letters we would get that people would tell us where they listened to our show. And just cool things like that. I think we had a really cool community of listeners. I do want to just shout out some of our friends that we worked with as well, especially because if this was the only book podcast in your life and you're looking to, fill that gap, you couldn't go wrong checking out the Worst Bestsellers. They're still at it and going strong, and it's a really, really high quality show. It's funny about books, and you can't go wrong there. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Learned a lot from them. Always had fun. Never didn't have fun. Listening to them and occasionally showing up on their feed as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, couldn't recommend that more strongly. There are apparently some high profile podcasters out there, not to cast any asparagus, who have jumped on the bad book in particular train.
And to them I say, you go first. We'll see if it's the same thing.
I was simply going to say, haven't had the pleasure. Wish them all the best in their future endeavors.
I was going to say, I hope you really enjoy spending most of your life reading things you don't like, because welcome to the jungle, baby.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. My sense is that they have managed to turn it into a front hustle, not a side hustle.
Yeah.
Which, okay, fine. Like, if I could pay my rent, pay my bills, and have Benny's just podcasting shit. We've said it before. Fuck it, we'll go weekly. We don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
That was a different time when we said that. But yeah. As the line in Big Lebowski says, proud we are of all of them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, congratulations, guys. Take that ball and run with it. Do your thing.
Yeah. Not Worst Bestsellers, though. Love
they're great. Yeah, and they're OGs. I think that podcast is actually predates this one. I didn't know it existed when I started this show, but yeah, they've been in the trenches for a long time. Plus, they're actual literature professionals.
Yeah. Like nothing. So God, supplemental recommendations. Sorry, I'm very distracted because one of Jay's cats is just sort of like prancing back and forth in front of the camera. And if you think that's not something that I'm more interested in than a sad goodbye, well.
Yeah, she lets me hold her like a baby while I'm on Zoom calls. It's pretty adorable.
That is the cutest thing that's ever happened.
Yeah, when I first adopted her, I was like, this cat's so shy. She's never going to be sweet to me. Now she is the opposite to the point of annoyance, but it's great. Yeah, there's lots of love in my life these days. It's a wonderful place to be. And, yeah, I don't know. I think, man, it's hard to figure out how to close this. But, it's been a wonderful ride. I really appreciate you, Collision. I'm really glad that we had the opportunity to do this together, and I want to thank you again for the idea of actually signing off correctly. That was inspired, and I'm glad we did it.
Same. And then, the only thing, just same. It's obviously kind of a heavy moment. It's a sad moment, but it's the right thing to do, I think. And nothing but love for you, buddy. And
yeah, you too, man. I love you, man.
Yeah, hope everybody out there, understands where we're at, and that there isn't really a great model for kind of winding down a creative project in public. I
guess the right thing to do would be if we just got in a big fight.
I mean, that would be simpler, but speaking of like our obvious models for, I don't know about you, but everything I do, I sort of think like, well, how would the, moral and intellectual leaders of my time, James Hetfield and Lars Ulrich, handle this? So, at least we never, hired like a therapist to be like, it sounds like you guys are actually just really busy, and maybe what you need to do is stop doing some stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and unfortunately my race car career always comes first, so.
Yeah, and like I won't stop buying modern art. And by that, I mean, I won't stop buying modern art.
I'm really actually glad this just happened, because there's no better way for the show to go out than with like an obnoxious pop culture digression that only appeals to people who have seen the very specific piece of media that we're talking about. So that's wonderful.
True. Yeah, that's true. So for any of you out there who have not watched Metallica, Some Kind of Monster, mix it in. It only takes a couple hours. And yeah, so like again, Jay, thank you for having this idea. Thank you for putting 10 bazillion hours of incredibly thankless and tedious, I know, and time-consuming effort in to make the show sound incredible. It never didn't sound like a real thing, you know? And that's all down to you. And, thank you for asking me to be on and putting up with all my bullshit all that time. And, I'm really proud of the work we did, and I'm proud to call you my friend.
Yeah, me too. It's been awesome, buddy. And thank you as well. And I think on that, let's go ahead and one last time. Oh, baby.
You're gonna do it. He's gonna do it.
I'm gonna do it. Ride the crap. Oh.
Keep reading crap.
There are books that are good, there are books that are bad. There's some books so fucking awful you wish you never had read them at all. 'Cause a novel, man, it can fuck up your life. But you can tune into the show, laugh about it, and then everything is fine. Read along with us, la-da-dee-da-da, la-da-dee-da-dee, la-da-dee-da-da-da. J.W. Commission, we got jokes and we got games about weed and